Hello students, in the last class we completed the factors which affecting the position of equilibrium and the Le-Chatelier principle and the application of Le-Chatelier principle especially in the manufacturing of ammonia by Haber process and in the manufacturing of sulfur trioxide by contact process. Okay, after that we are going to discuss about the application of Le-Chatelier's principle on physical equilibrium. Let's suppose we have melting of ice that is in the solid state and water in the liquid state. Now the equilibrium, the system equilibrium, in this equilibrium system ice has more volume, water has less volume. This is very important. Here in the solid state of water, that is ice, if you observe, the ice has low density, that's why it is floated on the surface of the water. If the density is very low, then if you see density mass upon volume, if you see both have same mass, let's suppose 1 gram water, 1 gram ice, okay, then compared to the density of ice will be low, so its volume will be high. That's why ice has more volume as compared to liquid water. Are you getting my point? And these two will be equilibrium at 0 degrees Celsius and 1 atmospheric pressure. 1 atmospheric pressure. Now come to what is the effect of the pressure. If we increase the pressure, then the system try to move in that direction where there is a decrease in the volume, because pressure volume inversely proportional. Okay, are you getting my point? Increasing of pressure, the system tend to move where there is a decrease in the volume. Decrease in the volume in the sense right hand side, that means ice will melt to give what? Liquid water. That is very important. Suppose if we decrease the pressure, then the system try to move to that direction where there is an increase in the volume. In which side volume is very high? On the left hand side. That means backward reaction favor. That means water freezes to give ice. This is very important. Now once again, this is a very important question in the objective point of view. So in melting of ice, if you raise the pressure, if you increase the pressure, the system try to move towards that direction where there is a decrease in the volume, that is towards liquid side, that is water. Okay, now second one is the effect of the temperature. We know the above reaction is strictly endothermic in the forward direction. Yes or no? Because solid state ice, when it absorbs heat energy from the surroundings, then it will melt. The melting of ice is a endothermic reaction, endothermic process. In this process, if we raise the temperature, we know the equilibrium will be shifted in the forward direction. That means ice will melt to give water. Let's suppose if we decrease the temperature, decrease the temperature, that means exothermic reaction favor. The exothermic reaction nothing but the backward direction, that is nothing but the condensation, that is the solidification. The water will freeze to give ice. Are you getting my point? So the main important thing is ice water system. If you increase the pressure, system tend to move in forward direction, that is ice melt to give water. And again if you increase the temperature, also ice melt to give liquid water. This is the objective question. Now come to vaporization of liquid. In generally, if you see any liquid, generally liquid has low volume and its vapor has high volume, because gases will possess high volume because they occupy total volume of the container. Now the effect of the pressure. Now what happens? If you increase the pressure, the equilibrium will be shifted to that direction where there is a decrease in the volume. That means in the backward direction the volume will be decreases. That's why if you apply the more pressure, that means the vapor will condense to give liquid. That means backward reaction takes place. Otherwise, okay, otherwise decreasing of the pressure, the system tend to move where there is an increase in the volume, that is the forward direction. That means water get vaporized. Water get what? Vaporized. Okay. Now the second effect is the temperature effect. Now in this forward direction, the liquid water to become vapor, it must absorb heat from the surroundings. That means this reaction in the forward direction is endothermic. Vaporization of a liquid is an endothermic process. In nature, the evaporation of a liquid into vapor is completed by absorption of heat. So, increase in temperature will favor vaporization, while the decrease in the temperature will favor the condensation, that is the backward direction. Backward direction. Are you getting my point? Vaporization of a liquid, what happens? If you increase the pressure, system move to that direction where there is a decrease in the volume, that means backward direction. If you decrease the pressure, the system tend to move in that direction where there is an increase in the volume, that is forward direction. Number 2, temperature. The evaporation of a liquid is a strictly endothermic, that means heat energy required. If you increase the temperature, forward reaction favors, that means liquid become vapor. If you decrease the temperature, then what happens? Vapor condense to give liquid, that is the backward reaction. Okay. Now vapor pressure of a liquid. What is the meaning of a vapor pressure of a liquid? It is the pressure exerted by the vapor on the surface of the liquid when both are in equilibrium in a closed container at room temperature or at constant temperature. Once again, it is a pressure exerted by the vapor on the surface of the liquid when both are exist in dynamic equilibrium at constant temperature and in a closed vessel. In a closed vessel. Are you getting my point? So liquid to vapor, it is strictly endothermic process. Okay. It is well known the change of a liquid into vapor is accompanied by absorption of heat energy, whereas the conversion of a vapor into liquid is accompanied by evolution or loss of heat energy. According to Le-Chatelet's principle, addition of heat to such system will shift into the forward direction. On raising of temperature of the system, liquid will evaporate. This will raise the vapor pressure of the system. Yes, the vapor pressure is a function of temperature. If you increase the temperature, the liquid molecules kinetic energy increases. When the liquid molecules kinetic energy increases, what they do? They try to escape into space. During this, what happens? If the container is closed, the vapors they return back onto the surface of the liquid. During this period, what happens? They exert the pressure on the surface of the liquid. Such pressure is called vapor pressure of the liquid. If you increasing the temperature, more vapor will be formed. That means vapor pressure will be very high. As the temperature increases, vapor pressure also increases. Are you getting my point? Now, effect of pressure on the boiling point of a liquid. Here, what is the definition of a boiling point? It is the temperature at where the vapor pressure of a liquid equal to the surrounding pressure, that is called atmospheric pressure. That means the temperature at where the vapor pressure of any liquid will be equal to the surrounding pressure. That means at that temperature only liquid will boil. Okay. Let's suppose we have liquid and vapor system. In the system, what happens? If you increase the pressure, if the pressure of the system increases, then the system tend to move in the backward direction, and some of the vapors will be condensed to the liquid state. That means when the vapors are converted into liquid state, the vapor pressure obviously decreases. When the vapor pressure decreases, are you getting my point? All these will happening where? At constant temperature. At constant temperature. Now in order to counteract it, a high temperature is needed for this explains the rise of boiling point of a liquid on the application of the pressure. It means if you increase the pressure, suppose if you increase the pressure, then the vapor will what happens? Condense to give liquid. That means indirectly the vapor pressure what happens? Decreases. When the vapor pressure decreases, which has to equal to the surrounding atmospheric pressure, then only liquid will boils. That means now we have to increase the vapor pressure of the liquid, because when we are increasing the pressure, the vapor pressure of the liquid what happens? Decreases. Now this vapor pressure, now it should be increased. For such purpose we have to increase the temperature. We have to increase the temperature. That means the boiling point of a liquid depends on external pressure. If you increase the pressure, once again I am telling, if you increase the pressure, the vapor condenses to give liquid. That means indirectly vapor pressure decreases. When the vapor pressure decreases, now that vapor pressure has to increase, the vapor pressure has to equal to the surrounding pressure. That means now we have to increase the vapor pressure, which can be compensated by increasing of the temperature. If you increase the temperature, so the vapor pressure of a liquid increases. Are you getting my point? Then that vapor pressure will be equal to surrounding pressure. That temperature is called what? Boiling temperature. Are you getting my point? Now here, the first question, the melting of ice. What are the favorable conditions? Now melting of ice, strictly speaking, endothermic. Yes, endothermic reaction we require high temperature, so we have high temperature first option and high temperature fourth option. Out of these two options, check the pressure. Let's suppose if you increase the pressure, the system tend to move to that direction where there is a decrease in the volume. Just now I told you ice has high density, means low volume. Water has low density. Ice has low density, so high volume. That means water has low volume. If you increase the pressure, the system tend to move in low volume, that is the forward direction. That means this is the first option. When we increase the temperature as well as when we increase the pressure, then ice melted to give water. Okay, now same question, similar question, H2O solid and H2O liquid. Which of the following statement is correct? Okay, the pressure changes do not affect the equilibrium. This is incorrect. Just now I told you, if you increase the pressure, the system tend to move where there is a decrease in the volume. Okay, that is in the forward direction, system tend to move. So more ice will be melt if the pressure on the system increases. This is the correct answer. Are you getting my point? Next, diamond and graphite. Now the density of diamond is given 3.5 gram per ml and graphite is given 2.3 gram per ml. And one more important thing, the conversion of a diamond to graphite is a exothermic reaction. Remember, delta H R means reaction enthalpy, minus 1.9. That means the forward reaction, that is carbon diamond to carbon graphite, is exothermic reaction. Are you getting my point? In exothermic reaction, now one more important thing is the density is given to you. Which has high density? Diamond. That means diamond has less volume and graphite has more volume. Are you getting my pen? Diamond to graphite exothermic, graphite to diamond endothermic. Now the question is the formation of diamond favorable by. Formation of diamond means we have to see the backward reaction. In backward reaction, volume will be less. That means pressure has to increase. Increase in the pressure is the one favorable condition. Next, number 2, backward reaction, endothermic reaction. That means high temperature is required. High temperature and high pressure are the favorable condition for the formation of diamond. Are you getting my point? Now, next, one more important topic we have, simultaneous equilibria. This is a very important topic in the mains examination point of view, NEET point of view, even advanced examination point of view. Okay, when two or more equilibrium reactions simultaneously established in a closed container, that is same container. Okay, and one more important thing, out of these two equilibria, at least one of the reacting species must be same. One of the reacting substance must be same. Such type of equilibrium is called simultaneous equilibrium. Once again, when two or more than two equilibrium reactions are simultaneously established in a closed container, and any one of the reacting substance must be same, then that equilibria is called simultaneous equilibria. There are lot of example. First example, N2 plus 3H2 2NH3, N2 plus 2H2 equilibria N2HO. This is called hydrazine. Okay, now here nitrogen, hydrogen, both species are common in two equilibria. Okay, now CaCO3 decomposes to give CaO plus CO2, and C plus CO2 gives 2CO. PCl3 decomposes to give PCl3 plus Cl2, and COCl2 decomposes to give CO plus Cl2. Are you getting my point? Now here, this is a container, first container. This is a first container, closed container. Let's suppose one reaction is taking place. A gives B plus C. A is a solid, B, C gases. And this is a second container in which solid D decomposes to give E and B gases. Now in these two equilibria established in two different containers. Okay, now in these two equilibria, one species is common, that is the gas B. Now what I am doing here, now I am combining these two equilibria in a single container in a same vessel or container. Now solid A and solid D simultaneously undergo decomposition. Are you getting my point? Such type of equilibria is called simultaneous equilibrium. Okay, so this is the one important question. This is the last year online paper mains level question. Okay, now A gives B plus C. A is a solid, BC gases, Kp1 given x ATM whole square, and D is a solid, gives C plus E gases, Kp2 y ATM whole square. Now out of these two equilibria, one substance is common, which is a C gas. Now the question is total pressure of the both the solids when dissociated simultaneously. Very important question. Okay, now here what I am doing here, first of all, solid A, how it decomposes? B gas and C gas. Okay, now let's suppose system attaining the equilibrium. Now at equilibrium, P1 atmosphere gas B and P1 atmosphere gas C will be formed, because 1:1 ratio. Okay, now second equilibria is there, which is D solid, gives C gas plus E gas. C gas plus E gas. Okay. Now when the system again attaining the equilibrium, let's suppose here P2 atmosphere C2 gas and P2 atmosphere E gas. C gas P2 atmosphere, E gas also P2 atmosphere, because 1:1 ratio. Now here important thing is, in both these equilibria one species is common, that is the gas C gas. Okay. Now whose concentration or partial pressure should be same. So that's why what I am doing here. So in the first equilibria, pressure of gas C P1, in the second equilibria pressure of gas C P2. So in both the cases we have to equal the pressures. Because in simultaneous equilibrium the common species should have same concentration. Okay. Now here what is the Kp1 given here? X. Here Kp2 given what? Y. Now first of all, what is the Kp1 expression here? Kp1 expression is equal to partial pressure of B into partial pressure of C. So shall I write P1 into P1 plus P2. Okay. Similarly, Kp2 expression, partial pressure of C, because A solid, okay, D is also solid, that should not include in the Kp expression. Partial pressure of C multiplied by partial pressure of E. Partial pressure of C P1 plus P2 and partial pressure of E is P2. Okay. Now what I am doing here, I am adding Kp1 plus Kp2. Shall I write P1 into P1 plus P2 plus P1 plus P2 into P2. If you take the common P1 plus P2, then again you have P1 plus P2. That means P1 plus P2 whole square will be equal to how much? Kp1 plus Kp2. So here P1 plus P2 is equal to, shall I write, under root of Kp1 plus Kp2. This is very important. Now the question is total pressure. What is the question here? Total pressure. Okay. Now here, to calculate the total pressure, what is the P total? What are the gases present in the container? Gas B, gas C and gas E. These are the three gases. Now gas B, partial pressure P1, gas C P1 plus P2 and gas E P2. So shall I write 2 into P1 plus P2? Okay, but in this above expression we know the value of P1 plus P2, that is under root of Kp1 plus Kp2. So finally what I am writing here, P total is equal to 2 into under root of Kp1 plus Kp2. This is a very useful relation between the total pressure of the system and Kp1, Kp2. Okay. Now after that, what is the Kp1 value given to you? X. And Kp2 value given to you? Y. Kp1 value given to you X, Kp2 value given to you Y. So the total pressure will be 2 into under root of X plus Y. So option number C, that is the third option, is the correct option. Okay. Now come to second problem. Second problem is also similar to the first problem. Okay. A solid, D solid, B gas, C gas, E gas, C gas. Out of these two equilibria, one species common, that is the gas C. Are you getting my point? Now here in first equilibria, A gives B plus C. Okay. Now here what I am doing here, pressure P1 I am taking, here pressure P1 I am taking. Another equilibrium, okay, here another equilibrium, D solid will give E gas plus C gas. Okay. Now here the pressure P2, here pressure P2. What is the common species in both the equilibrium? C. So whose concentration must be, whose partial pressure must be same. So that's why I am taking P1 plus P2, P1 plus P2. Are you getting my point? Now in this first expression, Kp1 is equal to P1 into P1 plus P2. In the second expression, directly I am writing Kp2 is equal to partial pressure of E into partial pressure of C. So that is P2 into P1 plus P2. Now here Kp1 plus Kp2 will be equal to P1 plus P2 whole square. From here P1 plus P2 is equal to under root of Kp1 plus Kp2. Okay. So under root of Kp1 plus Kp2, that is 300 plus 600, under root of 300 plus 600, 900, which is equal to 30. Now the question is the total pressure. Total pressure is equal to pressure of B plus pressure of C plus pressure of E, which is equal to pressure of B P1, pressure of C P1 plus P2, pressure of E, which is equal to P2. So 2 into P1 plus P2. But already we know P1 plus P2 value 30. So 2 into 30, that is the 60 atm. 60 atm. Are you getting my point? This is the fourth option. Otherwise, we can directly use this formula. Simply we can use this formula, but this is only valid for 1:1. 1:1 gaseous system. Okay. So we can directly use this formula. P total, this is a second method, directly 2 into under root of Kp1 plus Kp2. Directly we can use this formula without wasting time. Okay, directly we can use this formula. Now 2 into Kp1 Kp2 under root, that is 300 plus 600, Kp1 Kp2 under root. Okay. Now 2 into this is under root become under root 900 become 30. So 2 into 30, that is 60. Directly we can do calculation. Are you getting my point? Next, here question number 3. PCl5 decomposes to PCl3Cl2 and CoCl2 decomposes to give CO and Cl2 simultaneously. Now in this question what happens? A few moles of CO introduced into the container. Okay, when the CO concentration increases, when the equilibrium when a system at equilibrium, now change in the concentration, that is increase in the concentration of the products, the equilibrium will be shift in which direction? Backward direction. In backward direction, the Cl2 will combine with CO. That means Cl2 concentration obviously what happens? Decreases. So to increase the concentration of Cl2, the equilibrium 1, that is the PCl5 decomposition. Are you getting my point? So PCl5, when it decomposes, it gives PCl3 plus Cl2. So the concentration of Cl2 in the second equilibrium what happens? Decreases. It must be compensated by increasing the concentration of Cl2 in the first equilibria. That means this equilibria should move in forward direction. In the forward reaction, if the system tend to move in forward direction, the PCl5 concentration what happens? Decreases. The PCl5 become less. PCl5 become less. This is the option number 3. Are you getting my point? CO increases, CO combined with Cl2, that means backward reaction takes place. In the backward reaction, Cl2 concentration decreases. To increase the concentration of Cl2 in the first equilibrium, PCl5 has to decompose. That means its concentration will be decreases. Now, question number 4. It is also simultaneous equilibrium. Now, the first equilibrium, Kp1 directly I am writing partial pressure of CO whole square divided by partial pressure of CO2. Carbon is a solid, so we should not write the partial pressure for solids. Okay. Now in the second expression, Kp2, in the right side only CO2 gas, so directly I am writing partial pressure of CO2 only. Okay. Now here Kp1 value given 1 atmosphere. 1 atmosphere is equal to partial pressure of CO whole square by partial pressure of CO2. From here, what is the Kp2 value given? 0.04. So that means partial pressure of CO2 will be how much? 0.04 atm. So from here, partial pressure of CO whole square is equal to partial pressure of CO2. What is the partial pressure of CO2? 0.04. So partial pressure of CO will become under root of 0.04. Are you getting my point? Shall I write 4 by 100 under root, that means 2 by 10, that is 0.2 atm. 0.2 atm, that is the second option. Okay. Now come to question number 5. A solid and B solids, simultaneous decomposition. Now here total pressure given to you, Kp1 given to you, find the Kp2. Directly we can apply the formula. How? It is also 1. Remember, this is 1:1 ratio. Which ratio? 1:1 ratio. Then only we have to use this formula. P total is equal to 2 into under root of Kp1 plus Kp2. Yes or no? What is the total pressure given here? 50 atm will be equal to 2 into Kp1 is how much? 250. Kp2 to be calculated. So from here I am writing 250 plus Kp2 under root is equal to how much? 25. Okay. Squaring on both sides. 250 plus Kp2 will be 25. 25 are 625. So Kp2 will be equal to 625 minus 250. 625 minus 250. 5 minus 0, 5. 12 minus 5, 7. 5 minus 2, 3. 375. This is the Kp2 value. Kp2 value 375. That is the option number 2. Option number 2. Here directly I am using this formula. Okay. Otherwise you can follow the general procedure. Okay. Now come to question number 6. In this question number 6, there are again simultaneous equilibria. Now here first equation I am writing, x gives y plus 2z. Y plus 2z. Let's suppose the pressure here P1. So this become what? 2P1, because 1:2 ratio if the system attaining the equilibrium. Okay. Now one more equilibria is there. Second equilibria, A solid to give Y gas plus B gas. Let's suppose if this system attain the equilibrium, then the pressure here P2, here P2, because 1:1 ratio. 1:1 1 ratio. Now the important thing is, in both the cases one species is common, that is the y. So in both the cases the partial pressure of y should be same. So that's why I am taking P1 plus P2, P1 plus P2. Now the other information given, at equilibrium the pressure of Z and B were found to be same. Pressure of Z and pressure of B were found to be same. What is the pressure of the Z? 2P1. What is the pressure of the B? P2. This is one relation between P1 and P2. Okay. Now one more relation is given, and the sum of Z and B is 10 atm more than that of the species Y. That means sum of the pressure of Z and B will be 10 atmosphere more than that of the pressure of Y. Are you getting my point? Now here, in this case, what is the pressure of the Z? 2P1. Pressure of the B? P2. 10 plus pressure of the Y? P1 plus P2. Are you getting my point? Here P2 gets cancelled. 2P1 minus P1. So P1 is equal to 10 atm. Are you getting my point? So P1 value 10 atm. Now here P2 is equal to 2P1. That is P2 is equal to how many atms? 20 atm. So P1, P2 value we calculated. Okay. Now come to KP1. KP1 here, this is KP2. Directly I am writing partial pressure of Y into partial pressure of Z whole square. What is the partial pressure of Y? That is the P1 plus P2 whole square into partial pressure of Z, that is the 2P1 whole square. Okay. Now what is the P1 plus P2? P1 is 10, P2 20 whole square. What is the P1 here? 10. 2P1 is the 20 whole square. Okay. Now here this will be 30, that is the 600. Here 30 P1 plus P2. I think here square is not there. Okay. I think it is only P1 plus P2. It is only P1 plus P2. So here 30 into here 400, that is the 12,000. That is the KP1. Now come to KP2. Here KP2 expression, here pressure of Y multiplied by pressure of B. What is the pressure of the Y? P1 plus P2. What is the pressure of the B? P2. Okay. P1 plus P2, 10 plus 20, that is 30, and P2 will be 20. 30 into 20, 600. This is the KP2. Now what is the final question? Standard Gibbs energy change ratio of the two reactions. Now here, what is the relation between the change in Gibbs energy versus equilibrium constant? This is very important. Delta G naught is equal to minus 2.303 RT log of equilibrium constant. This is a very important relation between the change in Gibbs energy in the standard condition versus equilibrium constant. The equilibrium constant may be either Kc or Kp. Okay. Now we are taking two reactions, reaction 1 and reaction 2, change in Gibbs energy under standard condition. Directly we are using log of Kp1 by log of Kp2. So log of Kp1 will be 12,000 by log of Kp2 will be 600. Okay, so finally what I am writing here, shall I write log 12,000, log 12 plus log 1000? Log 1000 nothing but to 3. Okay, 3 plus log 12. 3 plus log 12. Directly I am writing. Okay, now log 600, shall I write log 6 plus log 600 is equal log 6 plus log 100. Log 100 nothing but 2. So 2 plus log 6. This is the ratio between the change in Gibbs energy at standard conditions. Okay, now one more question is there. It is similar to first question. It is also 1:1 ratio. So shall I use direct formula? What is the direct formula? P total is equal to 2 into under root of what? Kp1 plus Kp2. Directly we can use this expression. Okay, this is very important expression. Now 2 into Kp1 36 plus 64, that is nothing but root 100. Root 100 nothing but 10. 10 into 2, 20 atm is the answer, which is a fourth option. Are you getting my point?